te I vili mai tina to meti mai New Zealand mai vai lau talo whawata le e la forma le telefoni vea ia. O me pitini ana ia talo whawata. Ia wai te le tau walu se ofisa voi lea se te tala le ofisa. Mai ia le sosa, suma kua tau e le sia sosa. So se wharoloa whai ngofie, a me se le te whai ma lau telefoni taimi uma. O no inga na ana saua le talo whawata mai tina to meti. Sau sa o no wharoloa. Seki, talo whawata.
And welcome back to BluTable Podcast with Pea and Claudia. Yes, we don't have Christian Gray on the show, unfortunately, but we do have Christian Malietoa Brown, who actually is a rock star overseas, especially in Croatia. So, Christian, I'll let you introduce yourself. Where were you born? What villages are you from? And tell us a little bit about your rock star life.
There's a lot of questions.
All in one.
Yeah. So I was born in Christchurch, New Zealand, and we moved up here to Auckland in, I think, 2000. And I can't even remember the other things. Villages, mostly Lekongo, and I got lots.
Is that a good village?
I got lots.
She reacted.
I got lots of it. Lekongo, Leova'a, Whaskouka. There's literally connected to everywhere. And what was the last part? And I'm a Samoan. Me and my brother are Samoans who sing Croatian around the world before COVID. Now we're just Samoans who stay at home.
No, it is funny because I've heard you interact with people, and when people ask you what you do, you usually say, I'm just a brown Samoan guy from Mangere who sings in Croatian.
Yeah, just a singer.
How did you get into singing in Croatian out of all languages?
Yeah, so we had a Croatian teacher in high school. He was the head of music, and I was a tuba player in the concert band. And we had a trip to Slovenia, Croatia, and Italy. And he said, when we get to Croatia, learn this. He goes, before we get to Croatia, learn this song. And I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, whatever. And then, so I spent months learning this one song, and we had our first concert, and I sang the song at the end of the concert. I was like, 15? And everyone was standing up crying, and I was like, what the hell? So that was the first experience of Croatian people. And and then the only other thing I remember from that time was we had fully grown men like kissing me on the cheek.
Oh, wow.
And my family is not a kissy family. So it was really, really different, and
do you know why they were kissing you on the cheek?
Oh, they're very passionate about someone from another culture, another country, singing their songs, and so that's been the journey for the last 2008 up until now, and we just got bigger and bigger, and we started our own group of a cappella singers in 2011. We went on tour 2013 and 15. Then we broke off, did our own thing, and then 2018 we did a video for the Soccer World Cup, and it went viral.
Yeah.
And then we got invited,
pretty much.
And then we got invited to Canada and America and Germany and all these other places. And so me and my brother were like, you know what, let's give this a fair go, and we did. So 2018, 2019, and beginning of last year before COVID, we were literally new country every week, every 10 days.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And not only just like a new country, but like new yachts, governments,
all kinds of stuff.
It was nuts. I remember following his story and his YouTube page and everything. It was just like a different thing every single week.
So basically, a Samoan guy overseas, like the Samoan Jay-Z lifestyle. Samoan Jay-Z lifestyle. Yes, no, similar.
We had a really we were very blessed in that time and now actually, because we got to do what a lot of people never ever get to do, which is you get to have a talent that God gives you. You get to be passionate about it. You get to live a life on your own terms and make money from it. And I got to do it with my brother, and every now and again would bring my other brother in, and we're like, hey, we're going to. So I think in April of 2019, we're like, oh, we're going back to the States.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, and I go, yeah, we need you to come with us. And he goes, where are we going? We're like Chicago, LA, New York, Cleveland.
Crazy.
That's
You know,
crazy.
and he's
Yeah,
like,
it is, eh?
yeah. And we were just like, hey, look, we'll pay for everything, we'll pay for all of that, and cigarettes, and alcohol, and
And the lifestyle, and
So
the
it was-
girls, and the money. No, I'm just kidding. No, because I think off camera as well. I did. I won't name the artists. I won't do that because it's But here we are in New Zealand, and we have a lot of artists here in New Zealand, and I think probably the only group, maybe 660, kind of get to do that tour life. But now I'm like hearing someone from Mangry is doing the exact same thing. Yes, Claudia, we spoke about how, I mean, I didn't know that you were a big superstar overseas, but you are. And you live that lavish life that a lot of our New Zealand artists don't actually
yeah,
get to
it's
experience.
different in New Zealand. New Zealand,
Yeah.
you just get to be popular.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that we're singers, so we talk all the time, that still have to work. Whereas for us, we got to. I'll be honest. In the beginning, it was still trying to work out how much do we charge, what do we do, because one thing that we've been really big on is our own independence. So you'll see a lot of people, a lot of artists, even we'll probably know some of them that are really good at what they do. They get really famous, but they don't manage any of it and they don't control any of it. And so certain situations come up where they're not actually their own boss. So for us, it was really important that we build our brand and do it the slow way and get to, be what we want to be. And it's been great. So we literally get to do whatever we want to do most of the time.
I find that so cool. You've obviously been very blessed with like a beautiful voice and this amazing singing career, right? But what is it about Croatian music and culture that keeps you wanting to go back?
So for me, it's the Croatian people remind me a lot of Samoans. They're very family oriented. They love food. They love to have a good drink, and they have those same sort of values. Really, really patriotic.
Yeah.
So whenever I have to introduce this in a concert, I'll say to people, Croatian and Samoans are very similar. They're two countries in the middle of nowhere that nobody cares about, that nobody knows about, but they swear to God that the whole world was made just for them. And Samoans are like that. I remember growing up and we weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but we were always told, all people are nice, but Samoans are best. And that's what, and it's Croatians as well. They think that too, everyone's good, but Croatia's the best. And so we really get along on those value kind of things. And then after that, it's about sharing life and understanding a different culture, and you really got to be open to experiencing what they've been through and where they come from. And yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
And didn't you get your citizenship?
No, we're working on it. Yeah.
Oh, you're working on it.
Yes, they've become such a huge sensation that they're actually. I think there's a few people petitioning you for you guys to actually get your citizenship.
We talked to the Croatian ambassador for New Zealand, Australia, and the Pacific about it, and we talked to the Croatian consul in New York about it. But it's funny, the day when COVID hit, when COVID was really big in Croatia, they had 7 people die, so we had to come back last year. And we were walking through the main town square, and then this guy in a suit's chasing after us. And I go to my brother, I go, what the hell did you do? Did you steal something? I said, are we going to be locked up? And this guy comes and he goes, hey, are you Samoa boys? And we're like, yes. And he goes, I am the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff. And he goes, I hear that you want citizenship. And I go, yes, please. And he goes, okay, listen, maybe we can work something out. Here's my card. When you come back to Croatia, then we'll see what we can do. And so for us, it's just about, you never know if you don't ask. So we just keep asking people, and we'll see where it leads. We asked the former prime minister, and then he got kicked out. And then we asked the former president, and then she got kicked out. So we'll see what.
It's a work in progress.
But yeah, one of the things is, I don't know if you guys know Eurovision. It's like. It's like, it's like American Idol, but for all of Europe. And every country puts up a certain act, and then the whole of the Eurozone votes on it. And so we're hoping to push to be Croatia's entry into Eurovision. for the future. And then, because we reckon we could win just on the story.
I love
That
it.
would be so cool.
We reckon we could win.
Yeah, we could.
We're just ripping Mangry as well.
I know, I'm just sitting here, and probably our Samoan viewers are like, Croatia. Go and Google it because it's pretty. I think this is pretty wicked.
It's right next to Italy.
In Croatia. But look, we've spoken a little bit about the journey, but talk us through. You've met a few New Zealand artists. Sorry, this is not a question that I had planned, but you've spoken to a few New Zealand artists. Can you give us like a little bit of a insight of like the difference between New Zealand and Croatia? But as in, is there, because I know that there is a little bit of toxic stuff in the entertainment industry, and I'm just going to put it out there. Does that is there anything like that in Croatia?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Wherever there are human beings, you will have some kind of
Bad
funny
kind of-
stuff
yeah,
happening. I don't know specifically the New Zealand industry because we hardly ever gig in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Simply because New Zealanders don't pay for music the same way that
Croatia pay.
that other people do.
So is that your highlight, the money? Sorry, I was like,
It's helpful.
Well, talking about a highlight, what is one of your most memorable gigs?
So one of the biggest ones we did. So I don't know if you guys know Champions League. So it's like a big soccer thing that happens right across all of Europe, and we got to sing for Dinamo Zagreb, which is the capital, and that's our soccer team that we support. And we got to sing for their game versus a Ukrainian team. It was like 40,000 people there. It's on YouTube if anyone wants to go look. And you have the whole crowd singing along. And after that game, we've sang for Dinamo twice. So after that game or one of the games, just to get from the stadium to the train stop or to the tram stop, and it's only like maybe 600 meters away. It took us like an hour and a half because we got stopped every footstep and they had to take photos and photos and photos.
Wow.
So that's one of the downsides if anyone wants to be a superstar. Photos. You have to figure out how to take photos without hurting your cheeks.
Wow.
So we had one gig in Germany.
yeah, no, sorry, Christian, I'm not at that stage yet.
One gig in Germany, in Stuttgart, and we literally just stood in one place for 2 hours taking photos and signing all kinds of things. We signed like babies' nappies and it was
Really? Okay, I know that Claudia, and I have spoken about this before. Like this is, I think, a few weeks ago, about photo opportunities, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm the type to, oh my gosh, can we take a photo, please? So that's me. As a superstar overseas, how does that make you feel? Like, what are the emotions like?
It's freaking annoying.
Is it?
Like I appreciate, because people, and I'd rather, we're in a blessed situation, people recognize you and they want to be a part of your story.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes where we'd pull up into a city and like one time we came to this city in Croatia, we're sitting down for dinner and this lady pulls up and she's like, hey, you guys don't know me, but I follow you on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? Take a seat, And then she goes, I just drove this way. I just drove about an hour to come and buy you dinner. Oh. And I'm like, you don't have to. We have money. And she goes, no, I came here just for that, to thank you for what you guys are doing for Croatia. And so moments like that makes it worth it. And I mean, we know it's annoying and we still go do it. Like we saw Rob Gronkowski, the NFL player.
Yeah.
So we saw him in the Sydney airport. And me and my brother were like, we shouldn't go. I was like, no, we're going to ask him for a photo.
Yeah.
So even though you know that it's annoying, like we still do it anyway, because on the other side, people have those memories. And and then when you come back to like New Zealand and nobody cares who you are, then you start to miss the photos and,
But I guess it's a good break for you. Because, I said to Claudia, this is and this is just, what I said to Claudia, well, it's not our fault. You already know in your mind that when you become famous or superstar, you already know you have to prep for that, right?
Yeah.
So
it's all part of the job.
Well, it's nice in your case, I guess, because you're like quite famous in Croatia. If you need a break, just come
back to New Zealand. Just come back home. Just come back to Mangry.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I'm just kind of like, I can't believe, like, Claudia's been telling me the inside about the $1 million yachts that you kind of like, the lavish life. How's that?
Even this year, so my friend, he owns one of the largest mortgage brokerages in Australia. And he was like, hey, I got these 2 guys that I'm inviting, and I want to fly you guys over to sing. And I go, I have a conference on the Friday. He goes, oh, it'll be on Thursday. And I'm like, okay, but I have a conference on the Friday. He goes, just fly over Thursday morning and fly back Friday morning. You know, and so we did. We flew into Sydney, went out of the airport I went to lunch, and then we went on the yacht, and then flew back the next morning. And you know, and the conversations that these people have, I mean, like me and my friends, you know, we're talking about I need to buy a new car, blah blah blah, and these guys are talking about they need to buy a new yacht, and whose yacht is bigger.
Never mind Mangry on the map.
Yeah, and they're like, buy a new yacht, blah blah blah. But the thing for me is like music is one of those cool things that's ultimate equalizer, because people, you know, we might live different lives, but we listen to the same songs on the radio. And so you're able to, if you have that connection, like we were singing there half, you know, off our faces with these super, super rich, like multi-millionaires, maybe billionaires, I don't know, I don't ask them how much they're worth. But, you know, and we're just singing Sweet Caroline and, you know, and Frank Sinatra and all kinds of things. So it was a really cool experience. And that was only a few months ago, I think February or March or something.
Oh, we're just going to give a shout out to Lani, who's actually watching as well. I know
Lani.
you know Lani.
Hey, Lani.
Okay, look, I know music. I love music.
I wish I could sing, honestly.
I wish I could sing too. I absolutely love music.
I wish I could do something more useful than sing sometimes.
Well, I really think music is important. We had a few guests here a couple of days ago, was it last week, talk a little bit about dementia and how music is probably has
heard
been
of that.
Yeah. My question is, because everyone, you know, a lot of our viewers are Samoan, are Pacific. The Samoan music, you know the words, you know the lyrics, they hit different, right? The Samoan music, it's the English words just doesn't surface any of the lyrics. Is it the same with Croatia music? Like really? Yeah?
So we taken so we took about 8 or 9 Croatian songs and translated them into Samoan, and they were okay, but a lot of the time people are like, oh, what does it mean? And I'm like, listen, if I translate it, it's never going to actually express 100% what you. So I give a generic picture, but if you go word for word, it doesn't sound that great. And same thing with Samoan, same thing with Croatian, and that's why for us it's really important that you know the people. So when we talk about work, our work is going to lunches, going to dinners, singing parties. And you know, people get paid. You see a lot of
that does not sound like work.
No, but this is advice for no, because you see this a lot with musicians and performers. They come in, they sit in the green room, they do their 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they go outside for a smoke and they leave. And they haven't taken the time to engage with the audience and think about where's the next gig coming from. You know, whereas us, we will do what we're paid for, and then we'll go sit there, and then we'll just do after party, we'll play, we'll sing, whatever. Obviously, we won't pay for drinks, because that's another thing for performers out there. You never pay for food and drinks. If they tell you they're going to pay you in food and drinks, you tell them that should be taken care of anyway. And we do that, and we perform, and we've met a whole lot of interesting and incredible people. Like I was taking shots at one of the Croatian soccer tournaments in Australia with a guy who owns one of the largest construction companies in all of Australia. And he was there, you know, taking shots at the bar with me.
Nuts.
And, you know, and you don't do that if you're not there.
Do you need backup singers? Asking for Claudia.
Yeah, we need dancers.
Oh yeah, okay.
We can do dancing.
Backup
Dance.
I can dance.
We can practice there, then we'll
Yeah.
get to
Yeah,
scratch,
why
it'll
not?
be fine.
Yeah, that sounds like I wouldn't mind, yachts, dancing. Yeah. How long did it take for you to learn the language though?
So even right now I'm not super fluent, but there are times so in Germany, when we go to the Croatian communities in Germany, they don't speak English. So I remember one time I was sitting there with my brother and I go, we've gone 3 days without speaking English. And we don't even know how we do it because our Croatian's not amazing. You know, it's very broken, but we still manage to communicate. And, you know,
A lot of
sign language and, you know, and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it takes a while, but like anything, you got to do it and you got to look stupid sometimes. Like I've said stuff that completely doesn't even mean what I thought it meant. And someone's just sitting there going, what were you trying to say? And I'm like, not this. And they're like, no, that means something different. So, but you just gotta go through it, practice.
Now, I'm seeing that everything you do, including your singing career, relates back to your hashtag, which is Free the Life. Hashtag Free the Life.
That's right, yes. Tell us, what does that mean?
So, originally it was just, you know, who cares, it's up to you, what do you want. It's like Hakuna Matata, but I think the Lion King already, you know, put that under copyright. But then it grew to be something actually, which is like for me it's a philosophy, which is every one of us, we grow up and we have this idea, you know, there's a life that I want to live. So it's not the same for everyone, you know, it's idea of not necessarily success, but if you have a picture of when you know that you've made it, it's there and it's possible. And then we have that dream of that life. And then we get older and we listen to people and other things, and then we start to lock up that life and put it away. And then we're like, settle for whatever's realistic. And you hear that a lot. You hear a lot of people talking about, oh, you know, you got to be realistic about your goals. You got to, you know, be humble or whatever, you know, whatever rubbish. And so that's the idea, is that life that you've locked up, you have to free it, because you will not... never mind, you will not be happy, because, you know, happiness is whatever, but you will not even like yourself until you start doing that. And so for me, it's, you know, everything that I do is always aiming towards that, is like peeling away one more layer of what I can be and what my parents and my grandparents sacrificed a lot for me to be, which is not just, you know, sit at home, mow the lawns and watch TV and, you know, And to be fair, you know, they didn't even just invest in you to pay bills. Yeah, you might have a nice house, you might have a power bill that's paid for, but they probably wanted more from you. You probably want more from you. So we have to free that life, and that's the philosophy behind it now. Yeah.
I love that. I really like do.
That, yeah.
I really love that. So obviously you've freed your life.
We're getting there. Like for me, one thing that COVID really did last year was destroyed everything. So we were singers, right? But we only had one stream of income. And then when COVID hit, all of our gigs, I remember I was sitting in Croatia, and 48 hours, we were booked from February until November every weekend. There's like $200,000 worth of gigs just gone. In 48 hours disappeared. And then I came back here to Mangere, you know, and I started calling Pack and Save, Countdown, because I was back to zero. Nothing, no income, nothing. I didn't know the government was going to give free money. So I was at zero, and I was freaking out because I had made a mistake. I had relied on only one stream of income instead of having other avenues, because we all know this as a fact, you know, and people go through this every day. If you lose your job tomorrow, how is your family going to live? And we had, you know, me in particular, had gotten so comfortable and so arrogant to think that this was going to last forever, and it doesn't. So this year has been about establishing multiple streams of income. So last year I set up a consulting thing, and then so now we have about three okay ones. Yeah. But it's about, you know, hopefully by the end of this year or next year, is to get 10 solid stream of income. Yeah. That's when your life is free, because, you know, if one thing falls down, you can have 4 of them fall down, but you're still okay.
I love that though. I love that hashtag. Yeah. I really, really do. Yeah. So you kind of have to go, did you have to go back to the drawing board? You have to be realistic now.
No. Anyone who follows my Instagram knows that I'm not realistic. And I said this, I remember when I was still very, very, you know, I think I was still on minimum wage, and we were talking about Anguk Fasa Amor, and my friend was saying we should stop doing fa'alavilavi, because it cripples families. And I said, or we can make more money. Yeah. And he goes, huh? And I said, $50,000 is a lot if you're only making $50K a year. for a funeral or something. I said, but 50K is not a lot if you're making 500,000 or 5 million a year. Do you know what I mean? And so it's about stretching what we think is realistic. Because for me, I'm Samoan and I'm never going to give up the culture. So instead of finding ways to, like I said, be realistic, be realistic, you know, with our finances, I'm always a big believer in just make more money. There are lots of opportunities out there for us to go after, and that's why I always encourage people.
Very wise word.
Very wise, but I think it's just like...
I encourage people all the time, get into a side hustle. You know, you don't need to play PlayStation. I abhor people who play PlayStation too much, because unless you're a professional gamer and you're making money from it, I'm like, there are things in this world that you can make money from. I said, and my mate is like, oh, you know, but what can I do, blah, blah, blah. I said, you're good at drawing. Go make some comic books or something. Put them online, make an ebook. There are easy stuff that can convert them. There are so many opportunities available to us with the gifts that God has given us. And it's a biblical thing. If you don't use the one gift that you have and you bury it, everything that you have will be taken away from you. And so yeah, for me, it's just focus on one, try and be really good at it, and then see where it'll lead you. And so yeah, we started as singers, and then we became Croatian singers, and then we had to learn how to run a business out of that. And then last year I did run a business, and then this year was about seeing if I could use those same principles but grow someone else's business. And so I got into Lavika's Lash House, which is a lash extension place just around the corner. And when I started there, it was only we were only making $1,200 a week. This week we will make something like 12,000 this week. I just looked at the numbers, and you know, and so
eyelashes.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff that come into it. So
they're just making mental notes there on how we can free the life and get our 10 streams.
How do we free the life and get hooked up with some lash extensions?
But I don't want anyone to think that it's like easy, or no. But I also don't want people to think that it's
unattainable.
Like unrealistic, or unattainable is a better word. You know, it's totally possible. It's just hard. But everything's hard. Being poor is hard. Like when people are telling me, I'm like, and they're like, oh, you know, you eat such good food now. And I go, yeah, because I remember when I only ate rice every day. Yeah. Rice and spaghetti, rice and baked beans, rice and tomato sauce.
Rice and pisupo?
Pisupo was hardly ever, because
Okay.
they
rice
never
and
opened rice and milk. They never opened the bisupo boxes because that was for the next funeral. So all of the stuff got left for the next funeral, and it was just rice and air, rice and you know, and that's what I mean. I'm like, being poor is hard as well. So why not?
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Try and be comfortable.
Can I know we are gonna wrap up soon. But if you have any questions, send them through. But I do want to ask. You know, I think you know we've spoken a lot about money, but then I also in my mind I'm like, money doesn't always make you happy.
No.
What are your thoughts on that?
Money doesn't make you happy. I mean, you make yourself happy.
Yeah.
That's like not money, not the love of your life, not a family, not church, nothing is going to make you happy.
Yeah.
You have to make yourself happy. The difference is though, there are if you got back to being biblical, you got the people call it the parable of the good seed, and they got the farmer and he goes and puts a seed everywhere, and you know, and it lands here and it doesn't grow and it gets eaten in another place until it finds the right soil. But actually it's a parable of the good soil. So the money's not going to make you happy, but it can allow you to find the environments that are good for you. And so right now you might be, and I say this to people all the time, you know, I said, yeah, okay, you don't think money's that important, but like me, 2 weeks ago, where I live, opposite Centre Park in Mangere, we had a shooting just at the roundabout, and we had another shooting just in Favona, literally within 48 hours of each other. And people message me and they're like, oh, you know, are you going to move out, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, it's not bothering me. But I am glad that if we wanted to, we could move. Yeah. That's the options that money gives you. Whereas there are other people that they don't have those opportunities. They don't have options. They don't have even hope of a better life, because they're just trying to get through each day as it goes. And we've all been there. You know, we've seen our parents go through there. And I think that, you know, one of the things that, you know, that we as a next generation have been blessed with is we've been blessed to see and experience more. And so we're therefore with that, we have more responsibility to ensure that the future is better. And so it's got nothing to do with money. Money's not going to make you happy. If you're determined on being miserable, you will be miserable with money or without money. But if you're going to be miserable, be miserable with the money.
Be miserable as a millionaire, right?
Yeah, and the money, just one last thing, money doesn't, people say, oh, money changes you. Money doesn't change you. It only magnifies what's already there. If you're a broke, stingy person, I've seen broke, stingy people with only $5 to their name, and I've seen extremely generous people with 500 million. And so it really is about you, and just money will magnify what's already there. So focus on being a good person. How about that? This is my sermon
Why
for
did you
today.
look at me?
Today I really need it. I'm like, I hope you look. I'm blown away that the superstar had some really awesome words. Superstar. Yeah, but you are, and you've shared some really good. I'm just gonna go back and actually. I think this is probably one of the programs I'm gonna go, because I cringe when I replay, when I hear myself talk. I cringe. But I am going to go back and replay this, and I'm going to listen to it because I loved it. I love the you shared words of encouragement.
If anyone's listening to this and you have a business idea and you have a startup or something that you want help with, reach out to me, because my thing right now is I'm trying to get into businesses that are already started or starting. Because there are people that are amazing at their certain skill, but they don't know the business side or the management side or how to grow, especially when you have how to grow a business when you have zero budget. And you have to be creative around that. And guess what? We did that. We grew from $0 as singers to, I don't even know how much we made 2019. And we're doing it lots of times around. And so I think it's just about, same thing, getting into the right circles, getting into the right environments, and finding the right people. If your friends aren't doing anything in life, maybe you got to find new friends.
New friends. Oh, but
be my friend.
Claudia.
Be Claudia's friend.
Look, we've got to wrap up. My goodness, Christian, I've had the best time just listening to people really engaged with. I'm like, wow, I've just got really nothing to say, and I'm like not sure if to ask you whether you do have any final words, because that was.
No, final words is...
#free the life.
Final words is you can do it, you will do it, you've been invested disproportionately, you have more opportunities than anyone else in the whole of your genealogy and your lineage. You can do this. There is no reason. You have education, you have the internet, you have an abundance of resources and mentors. You have food, you're not on an empty stomach. You don't have to go out into the field and pick food just to live. You don't have to hunt things. You just go to the supermarket, and if you can't go to the supermarket, you can always be like these guys over here. They go shake their can out, and people give them $1 or $2, and you can use that dollar and you can make it into more dollars. But more importantly, chase the experience of life, because you only get one life, and so why not live it? Thank you.
Oh my goodness! After this, I'm going to give you a massive that deserved.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
That's actually very good.
No, thank you guys for having me. Thank you to the maestro behind the camera there, and it's great. I think the more we can get positive messages out into the community, the better.
This guy has.
Never mind Christian. Great man, check out Christian Malietoa. Wow,
Christian, great. Honestly, thank you so much, Christian, for coming along. Guys, once this video ends, rewind it, watch it again from the start, and free the life. And we will see you tomorrow, because there is nothing left to say. Yeah, free the life. Look, please, if you haven't already clicked the X button, Claudia and myself will be heading over to PMN. We've got our interview there at 5:31, so tune in as well. Tomorrow, unfortunately, we have had to put a little cancel button on the show, unfortunately. Claudia's sitting there, she didn't know. Well, unfortunately, I'm just seeing the message that's come through now. We will let you know via Facebook what's happened, so sorry guys. Otherwise, Christian, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Such a blessing having you. Everyone, have an amazing afternoon. God bless. Bye.
Squad, baby. Rex, J Sands.
Let's go.
Oh, say I'm say you are complete to me, I get you. By the way that you move and the way that you smile. Say, oh my Dorima, baby, you be giving your hand, I'll take you anywhere. You give me something that I never had. Cause you care, but about to me and the family. Say, why you waiting on me to talk to you? Yeah, I'ma listen what y'all say. Yeah, don't move out in the come here. Yeah, they on the layout, oh, dirty wine, girl, dirty wine, yeah. Say, tama in and not the bite, say,